Hey, bless you all, Israel. I believe I'm on the air, right? I believe that you all can hear me. Glory to the King. Well, hey, I hope you all had a good week. Of course, most of you in the room already know that this is Elder Becker, Elder Douglas Becker with Straitway Ministries, and tonight I'm hosting this segment of the Brothers Blog Talk Radio Show. So glad to see you all live, joining me live. I know a lot of people go back and listen to the downloads of the shows simply because we have so much going on in our lives and so many things to listen to and to catch up on. Hey, it's just part of it, but it's all good stuff, right? I'll tell you what, I bet you all glad to see us all back in the tabernacle yesterday. We had quite a house full. It was like a mini gathering for us here. We even had so many of the saints come by and just want a fellowship, and we can't blame because we love to see them all. We actually flipped our dining hall tables around just to accommodate the size of the crowd that we had. But it was good to see Israel back together again. Had beautiful fellowship, heard a beautiful word from our shepherd, and we are very thankful that Yah continues to bless us and open up our understanding and give us direction in all things. Glory to King. Well, anyway, I hope you all had a good week. I really said that once, but I'll say it again because we're in some times that there's a lot of distractions in front of our eyes, obviously, with the world events and what's going on. They're only telling us what they're going to tell us, but I know we're not stupid to the fact that there's a whole lot more going on than what we're being told and what's being orchestrated. It's like, every day or every other day, some new angle or some new, threat or fear or something comes out across the media, and it just instilling the people more to bow down and get them prepared for the coming of the really rough days. So with that and the sign of the times and what's going on, I just had it kind of in my mind here, in my spirit, I should say, a couple weeks ago to prepare something on the Antichrist. And I will say this up front, prophecy is, of course, the prophecy we're using was written thousands of years ago, but I honestly believe that much of what we read as prophecy now, especially as it relates to the book of Daniel and the book of Revelations, and of course, Zechariah, Zephaniah, and some of the other places, is that we have not seen it really unfold yet, but we're beginning to see glimmers and glitches of the unfolding of things that were written 1,000 years ago. And that's just my own personal belief, and it's going to become more realistic and more fulfilled as the days go further into the destruction of this world. And the reason, of course, that, we talk about the Antichrist, which we'll discuss, he goes by several names as well, that this is going to be the key figure in the end of these last years, more particularly 3.5 years of what we commonly know as the Great Tribulation. So it pays to know our enemy. It pays to know what, it's vital and paramount that we know what the book is telling us, especially in relationship to these times. I have a lot of material. I was going to try and do it all tonight, but I took a realistic look at it and said there ain't no way. So I convinced myself to just take part of it, call it part one tonight. And because it is pretty large, there's a huge dynamic, to what's being said. Do I have the insight on everything? Of course not. I wish I did, but I don't. But what I hesitate to do is actually getting on here presenting something that I don't have an answer for, because I wouldn't want to hear something that, somebody just talks about something, but they really can't relate on, with any type of thoroughness, just kind of gloss it over. So when I do things, I go verse by verse, and if I can't get an understanding, can't grasp or can't break it down, then I just don't put it out there. At least I try not to. Does it just, happen once in a while? Yeah, but that isn't my intent. So, I would want to be able for people to understand what I believe the scriptures are saying. So, again, right up front, Brother Ugly, again, appreciate as always your labor of love for, posting the scriptures and the definitions. I have a lot of both tonight, and this is going to go into probably close to an hour and a half, if not more. It's going to be a lot of information. I will try to do my best to, relay it the best that I can, the understanding that the Most High has given me in this area. Again, remember prophecy, much of it we have not seen unfolded yet. So, with that, we're going to get started. Again, this is a tremendous amount of information, and it's, if something doesn't make any sense, if it doesn't, if you're having trouble, developing a thought or whatever, go back and listen to it again, because I know as experience, there's so much dynamics going on to it. There's so much going back and forth to all the different books and all the different amount of information the Bible supplies that people can get covered up and lost in it. So, and I still learn much new things every time I go look in at least that aspect of the Word about prophecy and the coming of our Messiah. So with that, this is part 1 of Antichrist. And with that, we're going to get started. I have some bullet points here that I'm hopefully going to cover in both parts and give you the reasons why I believe this to be about this figure we call the Antichrist. All right. As we currently understand things, the Antichrist is also known as the man of sin. These are all references that the Bible points to this one figure. Also known as the son of perdition, that wicked one, the little horn, the false prophet, and the lamb with the 2 horns. The Antichrist denies the fulfillment of Jesus Christ and only holds to the Father as their sole Elohim. That's an Antichrist spirit, not necessarily Antichrist, man. And we're going to cover the spirit that is part of the Antichrist and the people that carry the same drive and the same under the same influence as Antichrist, because it definitely is Satan incarnate. The Antichrist, that spirit of Antichrist, holds that Yah has never been manifest in the flesh under Yeshua, but that the Antichrist will be that fulfillment of this truth. The Antichrist will be a great orator, a great persuader, and a flatterer. The spirit of Antichrist holds to things of the world, supports the world, and the father of it. The Antichrist will seek to gain prominence through those who are actually Israelites indeed. And that was very interesting. The Antichrist will have dialogue, intelligence with them that have forsaken Yah's ways. The Antichrist hates the Torah of Yah. That is why he will seek to change times and laws to incorporate his own set of laws, his own Torah, his own mandates, ordinances, and commands. The Antichrist will hold his power from Jerusalem, the city of the great king, the city that Yah chose to call by his name, where also the 2 witnesses of Revelation 11 will be judging from this earth for 3.5 years, where also they will be killed, and where all the kings of the earth and their armies will fight against Yahshua at the end of the Great Tribulation. And we're not going to get into all that specifically, but you can read that for yourself, and part of that in Revelation 19 and other places in the prophecies. In Joel, I believe. He is a false prophet. He shall speak many blasphemies and falsehoods against Yahweh in order to hold his place as Messiah, because he is the deceiver. And he has to downplay, and he has to dismiss and discredit everything else to keep his place and position. Satan will do just as Yah did. When he shall place his spirit or his being inside the body of a man, and shall come as the Messiah, which was prophesied about. And incidentally, there's 44 prophecies in the Old Covenant talking about the coming of the Messiah. Satan is not after the world and its inhabitants. He already has them. But Satan is only after those who hold that they are Israelites, who hold that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were their father of the faith. The Antichrist is a warmonger and would use the strength of military might to accomplish his domination of the world. Remember, empires are built on wars, by wars, and maintained because of war. The Antichrist is focused on destroying any testimony of the one true Elohim found in his people from off of this earth. And I'm going to have a very interesting thing. I don't know if I'm not going to get to cover it tonight, but and then I'll say that for part 2. All right, starting the first part of this. The Antichrist will deny the existence and deity of Yahshua. And with that, we're going to go to the book of 1 John, and we're going to go to chapter 2, Brother Ugly, verses 18. Let me see, 18 through, if I can get this paper turned, through 24, 18 through 24. 1 John 2, 18, 19 through 24. 1 John 2, 19 through 24. There, I think I got it. And it says, little children, it is the last time. And as you have heard that Antichrist, singular, shall come, not talking about the spirit, but the actual person or man, Antichrist, shall come. Even now are there many Antichrists, whereby we know that it is the last time. Okay, so how do we know that it is the last time, or the quote, the final hour? Because the opposition against Yahshua, his person, his deity, his truth, and everything that embodies Jesus will be discarded. It will be denied, it will be challenged, be hated, discredited, shown to all have been a fiction and a hoax, a fabrication, and a lie. All right, the word Antichrist is the Greek 500, Antichristos. This is in the Thayer definition. And it means the adversary of the Messiah, or those that are opposed to Messiah, as I put in parentheses. So the adversary of the Messiah. So anybody that carries Antichrist spirits are adversaries of the Messiah, basically flat-out enemies. Now, what you have to keep in mind as a reading for it about this is that even from the onset when this was written, that they were immersed in a culture, the apostles and the disciples, they actually were part of a culture that they were surrounded by those that were purely of an Antichrist spirit, talking about the scribes and the Pharisees and everyone that denied the deity of the Son, that this was Yahweh manifest in the flesh. And we're going to cover that. But in fact, they challenged him on many occasions about it. And that same type of spiritual attitude, that same Antichrist behavior is going to be carried right up and through the end. But the tenet is the same. It's the denial that Jesus actually was ever manifest or became Yah manifest in the flesh and walked this earth. I mean, we can already see it. We already see people falling away that have received the Messiah, acknowledged his truth of his come in the flesh, now totally deny him and bring upon themselves swift destruction. Those that have fallen for the King David as the Messiah, right? So it's not that far-fetched at all to know that this is actually going to be a significant part of the reality of the Antichrist and the spirit of this world. The denial of Jesus Christ, the true Jesus. 1 John 2:19, continue on. They went out from us, but they were not of us. For if they had been us, they would have no doubt have continued with us, but they went out that they might be made manifest or be made known and revealed that they were all not of us. Well, of course, now we're talking again, the context of this is about those that deny that Yahshua came in the flesh, okay, that he was ever on the face of this earth. And it even goes deeper than that. And when you say they went out from us, this clearly indicates that they were counted as Israelites. They were actually part of the body of Christ. But their opposition to the Messiah and his truths and ways revealed by their departing that they were not of us. And the simple fact that they left showed us that they didn't truly receive the Messiah as the Savior, as Yah manifest, because they carried the spirit of Antichrist. They may not say that, but that is a fact. That is the truth. That's what the Word is telling us. But you have an unction and anointing from the Holy One, an unction which is an anointing from the Holy One, and you know all things, or to know all the things that keep you from receiving the Antichrist spirit and keep you in the ways of the truth, as you have learned. I have not written unto you because you know not the truth, but because you know it, and that no lie is of the truth. Who is a liar but he that denieth that Jesus is the Christ? So everybody that denies Jesus is the Christ, he is an Antichrist that denieth the Father and the Son, or the spirit of Antichrist, or is operating under the influence of the spirit of Antichrist. And if it was operating way back then, how much more shall it be, the influence and the gravity of the spirit be upon this world in the end times? They're going to blame somebody for all this, I'll tell you. Whoso denieth the Son, the same hath not the Father, but he that acknowledges the Son hath the Father also. So there's something here that's tied together. You can't have one without the other. You have a lot of these cultures that, outwardly, by their words, they openly will tell you and confess that they deny that Jesus ever came in the flesh. A lot of the black Hebrew Israelites hold to the Old Covenant only, and their salvation is based on the Torah, on the law, statute, and commandments, and they deny the coming of Jesus Christ. We already know what spirit they're operating under. You talk about these fake Ashkenazi Jews, same thing, right? They have never acknowledged the Messiah, Jesus Christ, and there's other religions out there that do the same thing. The world's full of them. And again, this is another thing that even Christianity, okay, so you go up to most any Christian, right, and they'll tell you that, yeah, Jesus Christ came in the flesh, right? That's why we have our Christmas celebration. That's why we have our Easter celebration. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm gonna hold on to that for a minute until I read a little bit farther, because I got a big commentary about that. But all right, what religious sects deny the Son, but hold only to the Father? Christianity fully embraces that Jesus Christ came in the flesh, and they must hold to this as they believe Jesus was the doing away of the Torah. That's one of the reasons that they really grasp or gravitate to Jesus having manifest in the flesh, because he come to do away with the law, so they don't have to keep it no more. All right, 1 John 2:24. Let that therefore abide in you, which you have heard from the beginning, that foundation that was built in you by the Holy Spirit. If that which you have heard from the beginning shall remain in you, you shall continue in the Son and in the Father. But if you lose that which was first sown in you, and you refuse to continue walking in that which was sown in you from the beginning, that foundation that should have been built in Yeshua, but wasn't, it's going to take you away. This Antichrist spirit will take you out. 1 John chapter 4, verses 1 through 6. 1 John 4, 1 through 6. Beloved, believe not every spirit. So John opens this up, Yohanan opens this up clearly. Believe not every spirit, but there's something that we need to do. But try the spirits, whether they of Yah, because many false prophets are gone out into the world. And this is telling you right away that these false prophets are carrying a spirit that is not of Yah. So they're speaking out of a voice, or working, or being influenced, or giving utterance based on a spirit that has nothing to do with the Most High at all. Right? And of course that's historical. In the writings of our word, where many false prophets did the same thing, speaking as though the oracles of Yah, but they were, again, found liars. All right, the word try is the Greek 3181. The Greek 3181, the word try, as in try the spirits. This is an action that we need to perform, an action that we need to be in our conscience, that we need to challenge these things with. And believe me, I've challenged my share of them already. Greek 1381, this is the Thayer definition, excuse me, Brother, the Thayer definition. It means to test, examine, prove, and scrutinize to see whether a thing is genuine or not as metals. And the only way that you can do that is you have to have a working knowledge of the Word. To recognize as genuine after examination, to approve, deem worthy. And there's, the hallmark question that's coming as to how to identify these false prophets. And the word false prophets, the Greek 5578, also in the Thayer definition, one who, acting the part of divinely inspired prophet, utters falsehoods under the name of divine prophecies. A false prophet. So that's what the definition, the Greek definition, pseudo-prophe, means about false prophet. Prophets are those who are generally believed to have been sent by Yahweh, those who come before the people of Yah and are under, and operating in Yah's authority. They are regarded as speaking the words of Yahweh and under divine direction. This gives them their boldness to speak what they believe is the word of the Most High and what Yahweh has for His people to regard and take heed to. They're not speaking on behalf of Yahshua HaMashiach, they're speaking on behalf of Yahweh, not only knowing that they've already denied the Father because they denied the Son. These false prophets will only be effective to those who do not hold to the fact that Yah cannot and will not change, that He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. The sons of Jacob will be consumed by the flood of false words when they stop believing that Yah cannot change and that He is the same for eternity, meaning that everything that He said, everything that's come to pass, everything that came utterance by the word of Yahshua, who was from the beginning, doesn't change, cannot change, and it will not change. And I got to note that false teachers, however, take what is already available and attempt to reinterpret the meaning of it, which is true. All right, verse 2. Hereby know ye the Spirit of Yah. Every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is of Yah. So this is the way to test these false prophets. Just one of the ways, but this is the way that John is warning us, because remember, this stuff was in his day, and this is what he was writing to tell the people, not only for them, but for our learning as well. So this is the one way he was warning the people to test and see if they're in front of these false prophets, these false teachers that are still operating under the fact that they believe the Messiah never has come. All right, the word confess, as in verse 2, or confesseth, is the Greek 3670, again in the Thayer definition, and it simply means to say the same thing as another, to agree, assent. So what they're doing is agreeing or reaffirming what you already know to be the truth. To concede, not to refuse, to promise, not to deny, to confess, to declare. So there's no denial, there's no refusal. To confess, to admit or declare oneself guilty of what one is accused of, to profess, to declare openly, speak out freely, to profess oneself the worshiper of one, to praise, to celebrate. So saying openly, I do worship Jesus Christ. He is my Master, my Savior, my soon-coming King. What we do then with those which freely admit that Jesus came in the flesh, but what do we do then with those which freely admit that Jesus came in the flesh, but was perhaps only a prophet, as the Muslims do, or those such as a multitude of Christians which acknowledge without reservation that Jesus indeed come in the flesh? That's their foundation, like I said earlier, for Christmas and Easter and other things. But we as Israelites know that these people are not of Yah. The simple facts are that these people have in effect rejected the true Messiah. If they're already operating an Antichrist spirit, and I'm going to tell you why. And who he is, because they have rejected an Elohim by claiming he has changed. They have acknowledged or received his ways. They have not acknowledged or received Yah's ways, his Torah, his truth, and chose rather to believe and adhere to the lies, thereby rejecting or opposing the Messiah, which was Yah manifest in the flesh. You can't have Yah manifest in the flesh and then reject the Torah that he gave, because he never changed. He never changed. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. So to say that you receive Jesus but reject the commandments, the statutes, the laws, and the ordinance that Jesus, Yah, the same Spirit, gave us is actually rejecting Yah, or actually rejecting the Son, I should say. They're doing it without even knowing what the hell they're doing. So that's how much deceit Satan has them. And I hope I'm making sense. How can anyone acknowledge that Messiah, Jesus the Christ, has come in the flesh when they reject and will not receive that the Messiah is Yah, and Yah cannot and will not change? They can't. They can say Jesus all day long, but they actually reject him, that he ever came in the flesh, because they reject Yah. 1 John 4:3, and every spirit that confesseth not that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is not of Yah. And this is that spirit of Antichrist, whereof you've heard that it should come, and even now is already in the world. What we need to remember is that John was addressing a very real and present situation, as I said before, that the assembly was challenged with, that they were in fact men which refuted the belief that Christ was indeed Yah come in a bodily form. The accounts in the Gospels show this as fact, as the dialogue between Yeshua and the religious leaders at that time dealt with them rejecting Yeshua as the Son of Yah. And verse 4, ye are of Yah, little children, and overcome them. Overcome what? The false prophets, the deceivers, and the Antichrist spirits, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world, and overcoming them, again, is also overcoming sin. They are of the world, so we know where they operate. Their communication is not in heaven. It's not in heaven, it's on this earth. They are of the world, therefore they speak they of the world. So again, you know what you're dealing with when this is another aspect of an Antichrist spirit. And the world heareth them. You know, they might promote that there's a utopia on earth. They might say that, you know, everything in the Bible, the prophecies already come to place. So this is the kingdom now type of age, and who knows, whatever else they can come up with. Verse 6, we are of Yah. He that knoweth Yah heareth us. And you can only know Yah if you know who the Son is, for they are one. He that is not of Yah heareth not us. Hereby know we the spirit of truth and the spirit of error. Now mind you, John said, he that is not of Yah heareth not us. He didn't say he that is not of Jesus Christ heareth not us. He said Yah. Okay? Hereby know we the spirit of truth and the spirit of error, meaning that they've already rejected Yah as well, because they have not received Yah, and if they can't receive the Father, the Son is totally out of the picture, because the two are one. The word error in verse 6, the word error is the Greek 4106, plane. I believe this is the Strong's. It means objectively fraudulence, subjectively a straying from orthodoxy or piety. It simply means deceit, to deceive, delusion, or error. So the spirit of delusion and the spirit of deceit is what works in the Antichrist, will work in the Antichrist and those that are under the influence and walk in the spirit of Antichrist. Remember, it's all about rejecting Jesus. And again, it's about rejecting Jesus while even saying that they receive him. That's how cunning and strong the delusion is. John chapter 8, verses 19, and then John chapter 8, verse 23 and 24. So in the book of John. Then said they unto him, where is thy Father? So Jesus is having a discourse with the scribes and the Pharisees, the religious leaders in that day. And Yeshua answered, you neither know me nor my Father. So Jesus is breaking it down. He said, you don't know me, you automatically don't know the Father. For if you had known me, you should have known my Father also. You can't have one without the other. It's not possible. But they didn't know Yah. They didn't know Jesus, but yet they still held that they knew the Father. But Jesus is telling them clearly, if you don't receive me, that spirit of Antichrist, you don't know the Father either, because him and I are one. John 8:23, and he said unto them, again talking to the religious, zealots, you are from beneath, I am from above. You are of this world. So what is of this world? They speak of this world, the false prophets, all those that represent or are influenced by the Antichrist spirit. And the man of sin is going to be the same way. He is of this world. He is not from above. This is his kingdom, Satan's kingdom right now at this time, this world. I am from above, you are of this world. I am not of this world. And of course they're walking in the spirit of error and they're under strong delusion. Remember, the religious leaders of that day completely believed that they were the only and sole experts when it came to knowing who Yahweh was. But Yeshua was staunchly making it known to them that they did not know who Yahweh is because they don't know or receive who Jesus is, meaning that Jesus the Christ, the Son of Yahweh. Verse 24, and I said therefore unto you that you shall die in your sins, for if you believe not that I am he, you shall die in your sins. Automatically you reject that Antichrist spirit, gets you to reject the Son, even if you say you acknowledge him, but you're under that deceptive spirit, you're going to go your way and die in your sins. I don't care how, that's how strong the spirit of delusion is, and of course we're going to get to that. John chapter 16, verses 1 through 3. John 16, 1 through 3. And this is what Yeshua said to his apostles. These things have I spoken unto you, that you should not be offended. They shall put you out of the synagogues, yea, the time cometh, that whosoever killeth you will thinketh that he doeth Yah's service. And these things will they do unto you, because they have not known the Father nor me. Okay, they're thinking, now this verse is very powerful in the fact that they think they're actually serving Elohim, but they're going to kill the people who actually are speaking the gospel, speaking the truth of Yah and his ways, speaking the goodness of the Most High, of Yeshua, and they're going to do it and kill it in the name of Yah, but Jesus makes it clear that they're going to do these things because they don't know who the Father is and because they don't know who I am. Again, this is another really good illustration of an Antichrist spirit. And based off the dialogue that Jesus was having with these corrupt folks that say they were of Hebrew Israelite descent, yeah, you can see why. John 5:22 and 23. John chapter 5:22 and 23. So this is all kind of building up and giving you some historical facts and evidence that this spirit was even working then, the spirit of Antichrist, just as John said. And now are there many spirits of Antichrist. For the Father judgeth no man, but hath committed all judgment unto the Son, that all men should honor the Son, even as they honor the Father. He that honoreth not the Son, honoreth not the Father which has sent him. So all day long you can say that Yah, you are the lineage of Abraham, Isaac, and Abraham, and Yahweh, and the big long fancy names they give Yah, and all the textbook, that all the plethora of names that they use for Yah, and make themselves like spiritual. They automatically reject the Father without even knowing it because they don't receive the Son. They're basically godless. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 1 through, this is a good part of it. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, 1 through, 1 through 12. That's because I got so many definitions in here. It really takes up a lot of work. But it's important, especially dealing with prophecy, to break down the words, to better clarify what the intent of the thought was, because we know about penmanship. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 1, like I said, then through 12. Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Master, Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, and bar gathering together unto him. And he's going to gather us to meet us in there. They were writing about this way back then, because they knew that, in Acts 1 they asked Jesus, excuse me, are you coming back to restore the kingdom at this time? And he said it's not for you to know the times of the seasons. But you just need to go to Jerusalem and tarry. All right? At least I think I'm remembering it correctly. But they knew way back then that Jesus was going to restore his kingdom. So, again, Paul is just echoing the same statement, always having people of a ready mind. Because, even then, even though Yahshua wasn't coming back then, or didn't come back then, the fact of the matter is they always had to be sober and watching as if he was. And technically, if you want to look at it, the Most High can come for you at any time. So, by the coming of our Master Jesus Christ and by our gathering together unto him, that you be not soon shaken in mind or troubled, neither by spirit nor by word, nor by letter as from us, as the day of Yahshua is at hand. So it's a 2,000-year day. The day is 1,000 years. 1,000 years a day. So actually, technically, it was the writing's pretty close. It's at hand. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day, that particular time frame, shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man, talking about somebody, a human being form, a human form of sin, be revealed, the son of perdition. All right, we're going to break down this verse 3 because there's a lot of things in here. All right, the first thing we're going to cover is falling away. What does it mean in the Greek? Falling away is the Greek 646 in the Strong's, and it means simply the defection from the truth, properly the state. Apostasy or to apostatize, falling away, forsake. So turning back, going away, defecting from the way of truth. That's falling away and holding to lies. And sin. So, let me see. Except there come a defection from the truth. That day's not going to come, and we're seeing many people turn from truth to lies, actually living the lie while thinking they're in the truth, thanks to Christianity, mostly. Except there come a forsaking or an apostasy against the truth. The word sin, that the man of sin be revealed, the word sin is the Greek 266, and there's a whole lot of definition, but the one that I'm really trying to concentrate on is, this is in the Thayer definition, it'll be 1C, it means to err, to err. So to sin is to err. Remember the spirit of error. And it, of course, go back and read the entirety of the definition, but it means to err. And there's a Greek 266 in the Thayer. And perdition. So we have the man of sin or the man of error. Definitely a depiction of an Antichrist or somebody that's an Antichrist spirit. And the son of perdition. So the word perdition is a Greek 684. Again, Thayer definition. 684 in the Thayer. It means to destroy, utter destruction of vessels, a perishing, a ruin, a destruction. So the son of destruction. The son of ruin. Of money, destruction would consist of eternal misery in hell. So it's telling you the character and nature of this man of sin, this son of perdition. He's a man of error, a man of sin. He's a deceiver. He is the son of destruction. He is the son of ruin. Telling you exactly what his character trait is and how he's going to act and carry himself after that embodiment of that character. This man of sin is to be the embodiment of sin, everything that is contrary and offensive towards Yah and his people. And being also labeled as the son of perdition would assume that this man of sin has a father, of course, and this is a direct parallel to Yahshua. Remember, we're going to get to that, but I'll say right now I believe that the Antichrist is going to be the false Messiah, right? And he's going to be, Satan incarnate, going to be incarnate, just like Yah did with Yahshua. He put his spirit in, his Yah in the spirit, manifest in the flesh on this earth. It's in a form of a body. It's the exact same parallel. Remember, Satan's an emulator, so it's also about, the scriptures and the fulfillment of prophecy and all a bunch of other stuff I'm not going to get in tonight, but he's an emulator, so he has to show the world that this man of sin, this son of perdition, also has a father. Like Jesus was the son of righteousness, but, this is the son of perdition. All right, and revealed. All right, so this man of sin is revealed at what? What does revealed mean? The Greek 601 in the Thayer definition. And he's going to be revealed at this massive falling away. At this, as many say, in that day of this great falling away, he's going to be revealed, that son of perdition, that son of destruction. There's going to be a time of his revealing. The Greek 601, it's to uncover, lay open what has been veiled or covered up. Disclose, and not so much to us, but to the world. To make known, make manifest, disclose what before was unknown. That's what revealed means. So he'll be made, the veil or the covering that's actually keeping people from seeing who this is now is going to be made open and bared in the whole world, because he's going to have to come on in a powerful way and a quick way. Through all my study and reading, this isn't going to be a slow process of time, right? This is going to be something Satan's going to do quickly and make it happen quickly. We're going to see a lot of destruction around us, a lot of misery, as a time of sorrows is talking about, and all that too. So, but he's going to be in the background, quickly making all this so he can step on the scene. 2 Thessalonians 2:4, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called Elohim, or that is worshipped, so that he as Yah sitteth in the temple of Yah, showing himself that he is Yah. Well, Yah doesn't dwell in a temple made with hands, but he's an emulator. I'm saying that they're going to be building another temple. I don't know. I have no. It's like Pastor said it, and we all know it's not prophesied. But there's indirect comments about it, especially in Daniel chapter 11. So I believe that has something to do with 2 Thessalonians 2:4, which we're not going to get into tonight, but hopefully on part 2 it'll become more clear. And he's going to show himself that he is Yah. Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things. So, of course, Paul was recounting to the church of Thessalonica, man, I told you all this stuff is going to happen. Even back then, he was really trying to get their awareness and get the gravity of the situation. And now you know that withhold it, that he might be revealed in his time, talking about this man of sin, the son of perdition. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work, only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. Who's taken out of the way? I covered that in other studies. I won't go in that tonight. And then shall that wicked be revealed. When he's going to be revealed? After all these things happen, okay? After he's going to exalt himself and oppose himself by all that is called Yah. He's going to sit in the temple of Yah, showing himself that he is Yah. He's going to demonstrate and reveal to the people that he is the Elohim, or Yahshua, manifest in the flesh. And then shall that wicked be revealed. He'll be made clearly manifest, clearly known that this is actually the man of sin. So, these people, every year, Obama was the Antichrist. Prince Charles is the Antichrist. There's been an Antichrist after Antichrist after Antichrist for how many years? What's the character in that stupid, what is that, Kirk Cameron movies? Vladimir, I don't know. I saw a clip one time, and he's some well-dressed guy with a suit and red tie. I don't know, man. Just something. And then shall that wicked be revealed, Satan manifest in the flesh, whom the Master, Yahshua Mashiach, shall consume with the spirit of his mouth and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. And we see that in Revelation chapter 19. And then I have Revelation chapter 20. All right, the word revealed again. Then that wicked one be revealed. Again, it's the Greek 601, the same word that we read earlier. that the man of sin, the son of perdition, be revealed. That means to be laid open, or made, what was veiled clearly manifest. I got a personal note here. I won't get into it now. I might towards the end, because it's going to be kind of I don't know if it's going to be received, but yeah, Bill Gates. Yeah, Brother Ugly said now supposedly it's Bill Gates, of course. Yeah, well, they're all working under the spirit of Antichrist. That is for sure. They definitely deny the salvation of Yeshua HaMashiach. They are agents of Satan, no doubt. Verse 9, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all powers and signs and lying wonders. So he's going to demonstrate some abilities. All kinds of authority in the authority of Satan, and signs and lying wonders. Again, another way to deceive the people. And because anytime you show yourself some powerful divinity, people are going to bow down and worship, right? Because you get the most oohs and ahs when you're dealing with stuff in the supernatural, stuff that we can't explain, most things that can't be duplicated, and it definitely, there's a spiritual aspect to it that even good or bad causes people to, because they're not in the Most High, to cower down and to bow down. The word coming, even whose coming is after working with Satan, the Greek 1753, energia, this is the Strong's. From 1756, efficiency, energy, means operation, strong, effectual working. So whose operation is after the working of Satan, or his plan, or his tactic? The driving force behind the man of sin and his revealing is Satan. It's all about Satan, because he's going to have his time. Verse 11, 2 Thessalonians 2:11. And for this cause Elohim shall send them strong delusion. Now the word delusion is error, that they should believe a lie. Remember, this spirit of Antichrist is the spirit of truth, or it walks in the spirit of error. It's not the spirit of truth, it's the spirit of error. So we're here again, we're dealing again with the depths of the spirit of Antichrist, with the Antichrist agenda. And these people, and those that are going to be caught up in this stuff, caught up in this lie, are under strong delusion. Even again, like those that receive and say that Jesus is manifest in the flesh, they still are under strong delusion, because by not receiving Yah and His commandments and His ways, they've already rejected both the Father and the Son. All right, the same Greek word used in 1 John 4:6 when stating about the spirit of error. This is the exact same word of error as it is in here for delusion in 2 Thessalonians 2:11. Again, it was Greek 41:06. Delusion, Greek 41:06. Fraudulence, subjectively a straying from orthodoxy or piety, deceit, to deceive, delusion, error. So God shall send them a strong error, or allow them to walk in the error of believing the things that are adverse to the Most High, adverse to Yeshua, adverse to Yah and His kingdom. That they all might be damned who believe not the truth. Well, who's the truth? Yeshua is the truth. Jesus is the truth. The law is the truth. The Torah is the truth. The writings are the truth. The ordinance, the statutes, they're all the truth. So to deny any one of them is denying the truth and Him that made them, or Him that gave the commandments, and that was Yeshua. But had pleasure in unrighteousness, which is not believing, not walking in the truth, walking in their own beliefs, their own ideas, after their own drum, so to speak. And the entire world shall worship the beast, because they chose to believe the lie over the truth that Jesus Christ had come in the flesh, that Yahweh had not come in a bodily form. So the significance I'm trying to show here is that the whole world's going to come to a denial that Yeshua ever came in the flesh, ever. And even those that say they have already, without knowing it, have already lied, have already found themselves to be in error, if they find themselves that are in error. The word pleasure in verse 12 is the Greek 21:06. Again, the Thayer of definition, Thayer definition, but had pleasure in unrighteousness, and it means it seems good to one, but it seemed good to the unrighteous. The unrighteous is one's good pleasure. Think it's good. Choose, determine, decide to do willingly, but had pleasure. Willingly walk in unrighteousness. Willingly rejected the truth and received it not. Willingly walked in the error. To be ready to prefer, chose rather. This is how strong this delusion is. To be well pleased with, take pleasure in, to be favorably inclined towards. Favorably inclined towards one. And the word unrighteous, I got all these definitions you don't have, but I'm just breaking down the sentence so to really bring out the meaning. So the word unrighteousness is the Greek 93, but had pleasure in righteousness, or were favorably inclined towards unrighteousness, which means a deed violating the law and justice, an act of unrighteousness. So, and it has a few more, but the one I'm really kind of capitalized is that they actually had pleasure, they actually were inclined to, they actually seemed good for them to violate the law and justice, and violate justice, make it unjust. What time is it? Okay, I'm going to take a break in a few minutes here, but we'll do a few more top of the hour. We'll take a ministry break in case somebody else might be listening. So that pretty much rounds up this aspect of the Antichrist, as that man. Not only that man is totally going to reject the deity and will never receive the fact that Yeshua was ever here, because to do so in any way, shape, or form would not only implicate him as a hoax and a lie, but he has to stamp out everything that anybody and everyone that would claim that Jesus already came, because the wolves are going to get killed and they say, no, he can't be Jesus. And he already came. All right? He already came manifest in the flesh. And, of course, I know the Christians say that some are going to die for their beliefs when they didn't receive Yah and receive the commandments. But the fact of the matter is there are going to be those, and he's going to have all the world to comply and say, no, I am the Messiah that was foretold to come. I am the God that's going to take care of all of you. This is my kingdom on this earth, and it's going to be established forever. It's a fulfillment of the word, right? Because there's nothing that's more powerful than the word. You can't substantiate anything unless you use something that, of course we know that the Antichrist is going to, and Satan uses the word, he holds an unrighteousness, so it's going to help him to gain his position of power. All right, we're going to, I'll tell you what, now we're going to take a break now because we're going to jump over to the book of Daniel and look again at one more aspect of this Antichrist. So I'm going to go ahead and take a ministry break. I'm actually going to get some water too, so I'll be right back, y'all. Shalom.
Shalom, this is Sister Wenda. I hope that all of you are enjoying the broadcast that you're listening to right now. We appreciate each and every last one of you, our faithful listeners and supporters of the Straitway Truth radio broadcast. We try to make sure that we do our due diligence and do our best to ensure that you have the best broadcast as well as the truth coming to you in the hour that we're living in right now. If you would like to help us in this endeavor, your offering will be greatly appreciated in the work of the ministry of the Most High Yah. Our mailing address for your gift, offering, or letter of support is Charles Dowell Jr. That's Charles Dowell Jr. And Dowell is spelled Dowell. 506 Ellington Drive. Ellington is spelled Ellington. P.O. Box 32, Lafayette, Tennessee, and Lafayette is spelled Lafayette, 37083. Again, our mailing address is Charles Dowell Jr., 506 Ellington Drive, P.O. Box 32, Lafayette, Tennessee, 37083. If you would like to contact us by way of phone, the country code is 1, area code 615-688-3025. That's 1-615-688-3025. You may leave a message there, and, be the Father's will, we will do whatever we can to try to return your message. It is our hope and our prayer that as you continue to listen to the Straitway Truth Ministry, and as you apply the teachings of this ministry, that you are finding peace and growth within you, your family, and life as well. Please tell others so that the truth may also have an impact and touch others' lives so that they may enjoy the benefits of the truth of Jesus Christ just like we all are. Shalom, the King is coming.
All right, hallelujah. The King is coming, that is for sure. I pray we're prepared that is coming. 2 seconds. But anyway, back to it. So we're going to go right into the book of Daniel. Now, again, like I said at the beginning of the show, it can be overwhelming because there's so much areas to pull from in the Word. You know, Yah is not going to leave us without the ability to understand the signs of the times and the end times. And so he would bless us with the fact that, he gave us so much information in the Word. And, sometimes it's overcomplicated, and people need to have some kind of make it really, how do you want to say it? So scientific that it's totally deviates from the soundness of the truth. One thing I'm amazed of, when you study prophecy, and like I got eSword on my computer, right? And I've got a bunch, they call them modules. I really like the program, I really do. Because you have virtually everything at your fingertips for, finding out the concordance of the Hebrew lexicon, Greek lexicon, the etymology. I think I got probably 35, 40 different Bibles on there that when I do a compare, it goes down and compares verse in all the different ways from the Aramaic to, this translation of that and whatever. And so it's very helpful. But what is amazing, I also have, the commentaries, which consist of people like, Henry and Gill, Clark, there's a bunch of other ones on there, right? And what is absolutely totally amazing, though, is when I look into prophecy, I generally like to see what other people have said. Not that, not so much to try to exactly develop their idea, their understanding about where they were coming from, but to see the pattern that is developed and all. When you look at people like I said, like, Clark and Henry and Gill and all these other Christian commentators, they all hold to the same thing, that even way back to the book of Daniel, everything is founded in the Catholic Church, just about in the Roman Catholic Church and some aspect of Rome. I mean, so they're really, 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 they hit the Catholic Church really hard. And it seems like that's the only drum that they beat. It really is amazing. And a lot of other people that you read, also say that, and by the reading of it, especially in Daniel, because it was written at the time that it was written in 600 BC, in that time frame, 500, 600 BC, is that a lot of that looks like it's already been fulfilled with, the Medes, the Persians, the Greeks, all the great wars back there, all the captivities, straight off into the first Maccabees and with Antioch Epiphanes, and much of what is said in Daniel lines up, but there is enough information there to let us know that it's meant for that time, but it's not. So what I want to say now is that there's books in Daniel that are actually blueprints of what is actually going to happen. They were written, and thank you, sir. They were written, and for that time, we use the term dualistic in nature, okay? But actually, in Yah's brilliance, yeah, some of that played out back then, but he put enough information there to let us know that it's going to happen again. That which was shall be again. And so we can use what's already written as basically a window to view what's going to happen again in this, or what happened then to happen again in this time. And absolutely, I think it's brilliant. But when many people are explaining it away that it's already happened, you can go up into the Gospels, right? And the events that happened in 70 A.D., I believe under Titus, and the sacking of Jerusalem, and the scavenging of the temple, the destruction of the temple. And there are many out there that believe this has already been fulfilled. But clearly, when you read the words, it looks as though it presents that it may have been fulfilled, but you continue the reading and you put everything together, and it tells you clearly that no, it may have happened at that time for that reason, but Yah in His brilliance, those that are really His are going to be able to see past that and actually understand that this is also written for this time, the end time, for our time, when all these things, all this destruction is on the face of this earth. And I really do hope that I'm making sense. So, that is our alarm warning system out there by the road. I don't know if you can hear it. All right, getting on to Daniel chapter 7. We're going to end Daniel chapter 7 pretty much for the conclusion of the night. We're going to break down the chapter and look at the differences. We're going to really pick over with a fine-tooth comb, and I'm sure it can be picked over even greater, but there's a lot of really good nuances in here that help us to understand how it can be for this time. I will say this, there's 4 chapters in Daniel. Now, not too many people may know this, a lot may know this, that Daniel was written both in Aramaic and Hebrew. And there's many people, and I can see what they're saying is that the book of Daniel is not in chronological order. That's not, the books aren't set at 1 through 12, okay? Oh my goodness, what is with that word? I know everybody's out there trying to help me say it, right? I know it. Oh my God, there's just certain words, don't you have certain words in your life that just kind of but they're not set, the historical value of them are not set perfectly in order. Like they say that chapter 7 and 8 should be where 5 and 6 and 5 and 6 should come up because they base it off what king is mentioned in what particular chapter, and they base that as a time frame, and also the chapters that are written in Aramaic and some that are written in Hebrew. And so it's saying that, you're going to find out prophecies in Daniel chapter 2. Chronological. See, Brother Ugly broke it down for me. Thank you. Chronological. That's the word I was looking for. Logical. Chronological. Okay, there it is. Anyway, so chapter 2, chapter 7, chapter 8, and chapter 11 all deal with seemingly the same circumstances, but you have to ask yourself, why would Yah completely, or why would he repeatedly give Daniel the same vision of the same thing? Okay, that was one of my questions, and Daniel chapter 2, I believe, and 8 specifically mention the kingdoms that are being dealt with in that, not only in that present time, but immediately to follow after, which is interesting. Whereas 7-11 really don't mention they don't mention Persia, they don't mention Medes, the Persians, the Grecians, none of that. So all these things are things that need to be paid attention to because they dictate the course of how this prophecy is going to play out. I hope I'm making sense with that. Again, there's a lot of nuances, a lot of fine combing in all of this, and then you have to wrestle with the fact that some of it is the wording has been manipulated or messed with or whatever. The sentence structure is presenting one thing when it's actually something else, or our English mindset as we read it guides our mind that this is what it actually says when it doesn't say that. I think you all understand what I'm trying to say. So I promise we're going to get on with it. It's a good thing I allotted 3 hours tonight. I'm only doing half the study. All right, Daniel chapter 7, starting at verse 2. And Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heavens strove upon the great sea. And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse, meaning different from one another. And there's two words in this study that are really important, are going to stand out. It's called the word diverse and the word before. And we're going to look at both of them in detail, or at least some good detail. And the four great beasts came up out of the sea. Now, when we, you get into more of the study, like Pastor brought out when he talked about here back a few weeks ago at a Shabbat service from his office, when he was talking about prophecy, Revelation 17, about the woman that, talking about the waters, she sat upon many waters. And so also that the waters represent the people and the nations and the multitudes that are upon the face of this earth. So many times we just use a correlation because it's water. The sea is a great body of water, meaning that these four great beasts came up from out of the people, meaning that they were established in the multitude of people that were on the face of this planet. They came up from, man, obviously. And four great beasts came up from the sea, being diverse or different one from another. The first was like a lion. So Daniel is going to go on to describe, of course, his vision he received by night, exactly what it is that he saw, at least the best he could relate in detail as he had comprehension at that time. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. So the first image Daniel sees, or this first beast, as they're affectionately called, talking about beast in the sense that it's an oddity. It's not a normal thing. It's not like seeing just a regular lion. This thing is like really, different from what a lion would actually look like. It's the symbology behind it. And that you can go through, and there's debate about that too. Honestly, I'm going to tell you flat out, I don't believe we've seen the emergence of these beasts that we're about to talk about, and I'm going to show you why I believe that. The first was like a lion, and I read that, and it made to stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. I think it was probably a year ago, year and a half, something like that. I actually did a study on Daniel exclusively on Daniel chapter 7. And gave my own determination as to what I thought these representations were, at least back then, But again, as we come into more knowledge, as we get closer to the end, as things develop and come to life, who would have thought that we'd ever walk into a worldwide pandemic? This is global, okay? We're in a global situation. It's never happened on the face of this earth before, ever. So we know we're in the end times. And Pastor's exactly right when he said we're in the time of sorrows. I believe that wholeheartedly. In fact, I'll go one more than that, and I've only told this to a few people because I believe it, because it's not, it's not thus saith the of course not, but I believe completely we've seen the opening of the first two seals in Revelation chapter 6, and I believe that the third one is about ready to get ripped wide open. We haven't seen the fourth one, but he ain't too far away, but I believe the first two seals have already been unveiled. That's how quick things are progressing. But there's some homework. I mean, you receive it or reject it. It doesn't. It's just my own opinion. So, all right. And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself again, like to a bear, and raised up itself on one side, and had three ribs in his mouth of it, between the teeth of it, and they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. I don't know who the they is. I don't know what the ribs exactly represented. There's a lot of things out there that people say the ribs represent. It might, Alex or Alexander devouring or whatever, they use for the ancient empires that have been out there. But you're welcome, Brother Steve. I don't know what I said, but bless you too. Okay, glory to the King. So Honestly, I don't know and I believe as time goes on, this will be revealed. I really do. In fact, the focus so much is on a lot of it on the historical value of it that what's the purpose of looking anymore? If this has already been fulfilled in the empires that came back before Yahshua came on this earth, at least the majority of them, what's the sense of even reading? What's the value in it? Just its historical value. It doesn't have any prophetic value. Oh, the seals. Oh, glory to the King. Yes, sir. God bless you, Brother Steve. And verse 6, and after this I beheld, and lo, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. So you have the description of 3 of the 4 things that Daniel saw rise up out of the sea, or as we commonly believe, out of the people. You know, indeed, by the physical appearance of these 3 beasts, they are indeed different, as Daniel had seen them, and their appearance sets them apart in aspects Daniel did not have the understanding for. He saw them, but he described them the best he could. But he at that time he was seeing him, he didn't get the understanding. But later we're going to find out at least he got some of the understanding. I mean, how much understanding can you possibly provide for somebody for events that are not going to happen for another 2,600 years? I mean, and you can't show somebody like Daniel the reality of the situation now of the world we live in now, because it would be absolutely abstract. It would be almost impossible for him to digest any of it. Verse 7, and after Daniel sees these 3 things in this night vision, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Okay, the thing of significance, this 4th beast has no appearance that Daniel can relate to an animal. There's none. He's just describing the nature of what he sees. He's not actually giving, he does describe the teeth. He can tell us that it looks very strong. I don't know how he knows that, if it's by the size, the mass of whatever it is that he's seeing, but he's seeing something that he really doesn't pay focus or give attention to as far as a bodily form, other than it has feet, it has great iron teeth, it was dreadful and terrible, and it devoured and brake in pieces. So it was using its great iron teeth, the great iron, which could mean a multitude of things. It can mean the words of its mouth coming out, how it consumed and devoured and brake in pieces the people through the words. It could also be, remember I said in the opening of this that the Antichrist, this man of sin, the son of perdition, is a man of war. And that's how he's going to bring his empire to be, his kingdom to be, and that's how he's going to maintain it, through the threat of war, the act of war, and all the casualties that war provides. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and had 10 horns. We're going to key on something. We're going to key in on the word before, because it's vitally important to setting this apart from events that have happened before, and then this last 4th beast is just for today. And I'm going to show you, I actually believe that all of this, these 4 beasts, are going to happen at the very end, and this is why. Okay, this is one of the reasons why. And hey, I mean, I'm not, if it's, and somebody wants to refute it, it doesn't matter, at this point, because prophecy is still playing out. So as we come to more knowledge and we see more develop on the earth, we're going to see exactly where all this is going to. Okay, so again, it's not thus saith Yah. All right, the word before. Now, when we read this, the common consensus, the popular opinion is that it means things that came prior to. So the consensus that these 3 of the 4 beasts, meaning that the lion, the bear, and the leopard, which historically and traditionally are accepted as 3 past empires, came before or prior to, or in the past, before this last beast came up. But I believe this is all coming together and going to be together, and I'm going to show you why. Okay, the word before in this verse is the Hebrew 69:25, which means Kodam, and it is used 38 times in 35 verses of the Old Testament. And all the Old Testament uses of this word before the meaning is, that's my typo, but in all the Old Testament uses of the word before, the meaning is in the presence of or in front of. So if we read it like that, and it was diverse, it was different from all the beasts that were in the presence of it, and it had 10 horns. So it was actually in front of or present in the presence of these other 3 beasts. Not that it was the fourth of the last of the beasts. It was actually, they were all together. They were all in the presence of each other. This same Hebrew word for before, which is kodam, is used in 5 different verses in Daniel 7, and in this chapter reading, this same Hebrew 69:25 comes in 5 times, right? And in all the uses, it means in front of or in the presence of every single time. Not in the past or not prior to, but in the presence of or in front of. This is very important in determining if the first 3 kingdoms, those being the animal figures, came prior to or in the days past before the 4th beast, or were they all happening at the same time. All right, again, the word before, we went over the Greek 69:25, and I explained it means in front of. And the word diverse, the Hebrew 8133, it's Aramaic, diverse, is Shina. This is the Braun Driver Briggs definition, Shina, 8133. It means to change, to be altered, to be changed, to change, be changed, to change, transform, or mutate into something else, to frustrate. And the word I have been using, different. It means to be altered or changed. So there's a difference. There's a physical difference between each successive kingdom in here. There's, they have distinction in every one of them, and the distinction is there is to bring bring awareness to the person that is reading this, that these are 4 different things happening at the same time. Okay, the 4th beast Daniel saw and is described as clearly one which accomplished much of its agenda based on the use of great physical force, and the verse adequately speaks for itself. It is diverse from all the others that were before it, or in the presence of it, or in front of it, meaning that in accordance with the definition, this beast is a different, unique version of the other 3 beasts. History records that every major power that has ever been on the earth achieved their reign and rule by the use of war, the threat of death, conquest, and conquering. So how does this set apart the 4th beast if all the other former empires use the same agenda that this 4th beast is going to use? I believe that the further reading of this chapter will make more sense of these questions, and because it helps define the attitude of the 4th beast and his desire to wipe out Israel. Daniel chapter 7, verse 8. And I considered the horns. Now, I know I got this written someplace else. And I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom were 3 of the 4 horns plucked up by the roots, and beheld in this horn, meaning the little horn, eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. And I can't imagine what Daniel this had to have been the most crazy stuff that you could ever see. I mean, he's looking at this and he knows it's prophetic and divine, but wow, I mean, just off the world type of stuff. Most of the time we hear about visions and stuff that people have and dreams, they can relate it into natural surrounding and stuff we can relate to, but here's Daniel seeing all this stuff and is like, wow, maybe he understood the symbology better than we do now, is perhaps why it was shown to him like that. So again, he's considering the horns. He's talking about the horns that were part of the 4th beast, the 10 horns, okay, that were part of the fourth beast that Daniel saw. The word horn is a very interesting word too, and it's the Hebrew 7162. It's in the Strong's 7162. It corresponds, it's an Aramaic word, it corresponds to the 7161, again an Aramaic word, and here it just means a horn literally, or for sound, horn or cornet. But we know that's not the case. We know that is not the description of this. It isn't a cornet sticking out of this beast, right? It isn't out of his head or whatever it is. It's not a, literal you blow into. You're not seeing a trombone. And I'm trying to be funny, but you have to make the difference. So we have to go to 7161 to get better clarity of this thing. I don't know why they didn't use 7161 instead of 7162. So 7161, Quran. The spelling is exactly the same. It's from 7160. A horn as projecting. Now we're getting something that's more descriptive about what Daniel might be seeing. By implication, a flask, a cornet. By resemblance, an elephant's tooth, that is ivory, a corner of the altar, a peak of a mountain. Because when we think of a horn, that's what we view and think in our mind. If this is written for our understanding, maybe that's why it was conveyed that way, not so much for Daniel, maybe for us, I don't know. But this is the interesting, a ray of light, figuratively powers, which I think is where this definition is going, figuratively power. I mean, Satan manifests himself and his ministers as angels of light, so you can see the deception there. He's going to have, iron teeth, and he's going to devour much of it. It could be clearly out of his words, because, as I said, this man of sin is going to be a fantastic orator. He's going to have great charisma. He's going to know how to deal with people, because he has something that most people don't know. He has something on a supernatural level that he can deal with people. Remember, it said if it were possible to see the very elect, and it's going to be that strong. So, I believe figuratively power. That's what it represents, and ultimately that's how it plays out. But it's interesting as a ray of light, as a horn. Then I have 7160 listed here also, the Hebrew 7160. That means to push or gore. Used only as denominative from 7161 to shoot out horns, figuratively raised. So I think you've got the handle on what the horn is. It's a figure of authority and power. Verse 9, and I beheld till thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and hair as a head of like pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning. And you find some description of that also in the book of Ezekiel. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him. You're going to find that connection in Revelation chapter 7 in the multitudes. And 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened. So it's funny with this chapter. It's like Daniel keeps jumping back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I don't know why it was done like this, to bring us awareness about the battle that was there, or what, but it obviously looked like it's not in perfect symmetry. It's going back and forth, going to the kingdom of heaven and back to what's going on in this earth. So verse 11, and I beheld them because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. So remember, it had iron teeth. And here he said, I beheld them because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. So this is the horn coming out, that little horn. Because remember, it was the only one that was described. It was the 11th of the 10, and it was described as having eyes and a mouth. So it obviously had the ability to, the representation is to see, and it might possibly be surveillance, and it also had the ability to speak. And I beheld even till the beast was slain and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. So we know what the end of this fourth beast is, right? It tells you clearly, this beast is slain, the judgment was set, the books were opened, this beast is taken, he's slain, his body destroyed, given to the burning flame. Reading Revelation, I believe it's 20, when it's talking about the false prophet, hell, the dragon, and The beasts were cast into the lake which burneth fire and brimstone. I believe this is a clear indication of that too, in a connection, and given to the burning flame, or it might just be destroyed and put into an eternal burning hell, yet to be cast in the lake of burning fire and brimstone. I do not know, but I believe that's a pretty good correlation between the two. But here's the other one, okay? And concerning the rest of the beasts, remember, Daniel saw 4 of them. And again, we're still talking about the Antichrist, the man of sin, the son of perdition, and I believe the horn, the little horn, is that Antichrist. It is that man of sin, that son of perdition, and because it carries the same characteristics and the same attitude, the same boldness that you're going to find repeated throughout all these prophecies, and it's going to use all the tools at its disposal that Satan has always used to, deceive mankind. And concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season of time. Now, Daniel just got done saying the judgment was set. This 4th beast was basically judged. He was destroyed, given to the flame, but the rest of them had their dominion taken away, meaning their authority was stripped from them, yet their lives were prolonged for a season of time. I don't know why. I can't answer that. But what I'm trying to say that is if these beasts were in the past, and the 4th beast is only the last one of the 4, then this attitude in verse 12 doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, because their dominion would have been taken away thousands of years ago. Okay, so, but it's acting like and saying it's a present situation, if you understand what I'm talking about. Verse 13. And I saw in the night visions, and behold, again, Daniel's describing, he's seeing all the stuff in visions. One like to the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and everybody knows that this is how Yeshua is coming back again, in the clouds. And came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him, and there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed, because it is the kingdom, the everlasting kingdom of the Most High, Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. And I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me, because just being in Daniel's position, what he just saw was pretty intense. And he's seeing the glory of heaven. He's seeing the what's going on in the attitude of the heavens, the actions in the heavens, and also on the earth. And he's like, man, what is this all about? And came near unto one of them that stood by, and asked him the truth of all this. And this is the first time this is mentioned, that there was others standing by. So he told me and made me to know the interpretation of the thing. So he's actually going to, whoever this somebody is, I'm assuming it's an angel messenger, because traditionally that's what we find all over the place. Okay, then an angel revealed it. You can find it all over Revelation when dealing with John. So he told me and made me know the interpretations of the things. And Daniel actually asked, he was so troubled, he needed clarity, at least some type of answer, so he could, have some type of resolution, or some kind of peace about what he just saw. So Daniel 7:17, and this person, or this one that was next to Daniel, starts the interpretation by saying, "These great beasts, which are 4, he tells you what they are 4 kings, which shall arise out of the earth. They are recognized as authority, as sovereigns." Really quick, it comes from the Hebrew 44:30, and it means simply king or royalty. That's what king means, okay? So these are 4 people of royalty, of kingship, sovereigns, and high places of authority, the top place of authority. In Daniel 7:3, Daniel describes 4 beasts which rise out of the sea, whereas in this verse, the one giving Daniel the interpretation of the vision tells Daniel that these 4 great beasts will rise out of the earth. So which is it? We also see these scenarios reenacted in the vision that John received. And the only thing that I can come up with, okay, and I'm not really tuned into this yet. I have looked into it before, but the kingdoms, or the physical manifestation of an actual empire, is the things that are coming out of the sea. And the kings or the rulers that are going to be ruling these kingdoms of these four come out of the earth. And however that translates, anyway, maybe somebody's got an answer at some other time. I'll definitely look into it more, as there's got it, because the Bible defines itself. So, this symbology like this, you see it, of course, all over Revelation. So that's just something else to work on. But it is a significant point to look at, as there's a difference between, seeing these beasts coming out of the sea, but the kings that even says these great beasts which are four kings which shall rise out of the earth. So, but the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. Well, they're going to take the kingdom back from these beasts, from these kings. Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all the other. Well, as far as I'm concerned, they were all different from one another, but this one really stood out. Was exceedingly dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, his nails of brass, which devoured, brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet. This example is not of a kingdom or a king or a beast, whatever the case may be. He's not going to do it kindly and ask for compliance. It's going to be demanded or death. It's odd that Daniel only wanted to know the truth of the fourth beast and not the other three, don't you think? That's a question, because that's a question I had. But he was really incredibly intrigued, not only with this beast, but with also with the horns. Why wouldn't he desire to know the truth of the revealing of the lion with the eagle's wings, or the bear with the ribs in its mouth, or the leopard with the 4 heads and 4 sets of wings? Well, maybe because he had some idea what that symbology meant. People say that the leopard was Alexander, the Greek Empire, and the 4 heads and the 4 sets of wings were the 4 generals that after Alexander died, that they started 4 kingdoms off of that. There's others that say that the lion was actually Babylon, and it was describing Nebuchadnezzar when he was created into a beast, but there's too much here that says, that describes and points to these events taking place at the end. And again, if it's already been manifest and already happened, then what's the sense of even considering it or receiving it as prophecy for the end? And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and the other thing is, of course, Daniel chapter 7 really lines up closely with Revelation 13. It's not a coincidence there, again, to direct our attention that this is, a storyline, a revealing of what is about to happen, so we're not left, brother, it's no need that I write into you the times and seasons, for you already know that. So we have this in front of us. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had the eyes and the mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. So again, this particular horn, this little horn, the one that came up after the 10, by whose hand, or whatever you want to use the best of the term, that 3 fell. And the word stout, as being the description of setting him apart, besides having eyes and a mouth, he also was more stout, describing his nature. And the word stout is the Hebrew 72:29. It's the Strong's version. It's an Aramaic corresponding to 72:27. It means captain, chief, great, lord, master, stout. So what it's doing is showing us that this little horn has a greater position of rulership and authority. However that's obtained, however that comes in, I believe that this is clearly the Antichrist, and he's getting the greatest amount of authority because Satan directly working with him. Right? Satan is actually in this little man. You're going to see repeated behavior in the speech and the words and the blasphemies and everything else that we see painted also in the description of this same character in Revelation and elsewhere. And I beheld the same horn made war with the saints, and prevailed against them. So, not the other 10, not the beast itself is described, but we're actually, the focus is on the horn, who is directing the show. The object of the horn's fury and attack is going to be directed toward the saints of the Most High because of a refusal of compliance, acceptance, and knowing who this wicked thing truly is. That's why the focus. He's already got the world. Satan has already got the world. I mean, all you got to do is take away their comforts, and you're going to win over 2/3 of the population, right? Well, I shouldn't say win them over. It's probably, you're going to put them in a position where they're going to have to accept whatever's offered to them just so they can survive. I mean, not to get off track here, but even with this pandemic BS, I was looking at how long it actually took the people to stay settled to go to unsettled. And 3 weeks they were already protesting, little pockets here, little pockets there. Each time showing greater numbers and having more courage and standing up more for themselves as people, right? Yeah, toilet paper, Brother Sean said toilet paper. But the fact is, it's like, and they're using the media's instantly putting a spin on everything and making it like an evil, wicked thing that these people who have rights, according to the Constitution, are actually exercising. I know pastors mentioned it a few times, and armed citizens or armed protesters stormed the Capitol in Michigan. Well, the first time I heard it, I said, wait a minute. There was a whole bunch of protesters there, so why didn't they just say armed? Why didn't they just say protesters stormed the Capitol? But they had to make a distinction for the guys carrying the guns as the bad ones. They didn't say nothing about anybody else. They had to point the whole of the story and keep the focus on these armed people that are assaulting. Now Michigan is planning on putting out laws that prevent anybody carrying guns on Capitol grounds. They can still protest, but they just can't carry their guns. So the whole object was about the guns. Like Brother Ugly's saying, not to get too far off track, but people are, men, the brother shall betray brother unto death. That's in the time of sorrows, and we're seeing that based off of fear, because they're seeing people as being, non-compliant, and that's not going to stand, because we all need to get together, pull together, and so we can get by all this stuff and get back on, because you're intruding on people's comfort level, on their daily lives, and they're going to have them back. So, anyway, get back on the study here. Sorry. Where was I? Until the Ancient of Days came and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth. Again, the one that was standing next to Daniel is continuing to describe what is going on in the interpretation of all this thing that just Daniel was given in this vision. The fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms and shall devour the whole earth, right? So it's giving you the realm and the authority of this kingdom, and shall tread it down and break it. I wonder if I missed my point. I did. Okay, let me see. Okay, no, I haven't got that far. All right. Anyway, the word kingdom, the Greek 4437. How did I miss that? I missed something very key. I have to go back and look. No, maybe I haven't gotten to it yet. Okay, sorry. I want to get off track here. So anyway, this fourth kingdom is diverse from all the other kingdoms, the other three that came up out of the sea, and it's going to devour the whole earth, not just part. This is global, and shall tread it down and break into pieces, the whole earth. It didn't give that to the other three kingdoms, but it did to this one. That's why the diversity about it, because it's going to encompass the entire earth. It's going to need help, though. The word kingdom, 4437, is in the Aramaic, simply means dominion. Kingdom, kingly realm, reign. In Daniel 7:17, we read that by the revealing of one of those which Daniel stood by, was that the four beasts Daniel had seen at the onset of his vision dream were defined as kings. But in verse 23, these beasts are seemingly redefined as kingdoms. Both revelations are the same, simply by knowing that a kingdom would have to have a supreme sovereign ruling that prospective kingdom. And it's highly unlikely, because Daniel was first told that these were kings, but now here we're talking about it's the fourth kingdom. So it's not the fourth king, it's the fourth kingdom, but they're synonymous one with another. And it's highly unlikely that these first three of the first four beasts Daniel described span time periods over the course of many thousands of years, as the reading of Revelation 13 indicates that three of the four beasts joined as one. We're not going to cover that tonight. Rise out of the sea all at the same time are set to be a force during the 3.5-year, 42-month Great Tribulation at the end. We're going to cover that. That's a very crucial part too. 7:24. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom, this fourth kingdom, are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and she shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. So this is the interpretation, again, of what Daniel saw in his vision. And he's getting the understanding of what's going on here. So these horns are kings, or identities of authority figures. And, of course, the little horn, the one that is the badass, the really badass, I believe is actually the false Messiah. And he shall speak great words. Okay, we're talking again. This little horn, right? This horn that rose after the 10. This is what the context is in Daniel 7:25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think, or to bear in mind, to hope, to change, or to alter, to transform, to frustrate times, which is seasons in Hebrews, and laws. And they shall be given into his hand until a time, times, and a dividing of times. Okay, so what we have to understand now, and really pay attention to, is that this fourth beast, especially the fourth one, right? It tells you the time that he's going to seek to do this to the saints. Not for 2,000 years, but just in the time frame of 42 months. And we know by Revelation that that's the time of the Great Tribulation. So this king, this fourth king especially, is a kingdom that's represented during this time, times, and dividing of times. In the end of days, at the last 3.5 years. That's very important to understand. This easily is verified by other places in the Bible, and there's many places. If you've never looked this out, I'll tell you right now, you can write this down to prove and understand what time and times, and another place in Daniel says half a time, and other in Revelation. But in order to bring this to clarity and understanding that this is actually what it is, 3.5 years of 42 months or 1,260 days, or in some cases 1,290. But this time frame represents basically 3.5 years, or the time of the Great Tribulation. And if you read Revelation chapter 12, verses 6 and 14, and there's more I can add to that, but just stick to them too. All right, go on to Revelation chapter 12, and it's going to talk about time, times, and a half a time, and then it's going to talk about, these are both talking about the length of stay that the woman is going to be hidden in the wilderness. And the first time it talks about in verse 6, it says time, times, and a half a time. And then it goes, and the word dividing, if you look it up, you want to get technical, it does mean half. And then if you go to verse 14 of Revelation chapter 12, it says, and the woman shall be hidden in the wilderness for 42 months, all right, or 1,290 days, or 1,260 days, which is 42 months. Okay, so sorry, but that it does say it. Some of the two quickest places that you can look to actually validate that this is a time. But the fact of the matter is, and the key point here is that this fourth kingdom only is going to operate in a 3.5 year time period. Okay, and so the other thing in this 3.5 year time period, it's at that point that this horn, this little horn with the eyes and with the great mouth, with Brother Steve has got it up there, 1260, 1290 days, Revelation 12, 6 and 14, 3.5 years exactly. Okay, thank you, Brother Steve. And not everybody can see the chat, but Brother Steve just posted it up there. So, but it's going to be at this time that this little horn is going to seek to change, to alter, transform, and frustrate times and laws. Okay, and did I even look? I could have swore I looked that up. Why wasn't it on here? All right, well, I'm going to tell you what it is. If you look up the word times, it relates right back to the feast days, which is remarkable, and laws. So I'm going to tell you this is what I believe that this is saying, is that during the 3.5 years when this man of sin, the son of perdition, this Antichrist, as we know him, this little horn, this lamb with two horns in Revelation 13, as we'll talk about, it's that time he's going to totally wipe out, destroy, discredit, and do away with the Torah of the Most High. So he's going to change, alter, transform, or frustrate, rewrite the time. So if he's an Antichrist figure, if he's the false Messiah on this earth, wouldn't you think that as Yah manifest in the body of a man, that he would demand, he's going to emulate exactly what the Most High demanded of his people. So we have this Antichrist figure said he's going to emulate Yah and demand the same thing of the whole earth as his servants, as his people. And if they don't want to be his people, he's just simply going to kill them, right? Get rid of the voice of dissension. So he's going to make his own feast days and his time. They got to know, like the time of Bacchus and the other festivals they have, but this is going to be a whole brand new set of laws, a whole new Torah, if you will, for the end time. Policies, commands, thus saith the Antichrist, thus not saith the Antichrist. This is the way it's going to be, folks, because we need to get this whole world in one mind, one unity, and the reason he has to do that because he has us to be able to maintain control, which we're going to see in the second part that he's going to have trouble doing. There's always going to be wars and fightings against him continually, and he's going to continually have to be in a state of war in order to try to carry out this charade. He's not going to be allowed just to sit peaceably and just rule from his throne, which I believe is going to be in Jerusalem. It only makes sense that he would go to Jerusalem. He's going to emulate everything that Yah already did. And because Yah calls Jerusalem his holy city, what better place to go to and present yourself as a false Messiah? You're not going to go, to the island of Crete or anything else like that, and I doubt you would go to Rome, in the Vatican, personally myself, because the whole focus has always been on the city of Jerusalem. I mean, there's been a lot of wars fought over that piece of ground. And of course, you look at Zechariah, it talks about in the 14th chapter that all these nations are going to gather together against Jerusalem. Prophetic. You read in Luke 21. In Luke 21, it talks about it too, that when you see Jerusalem compassed about with armies. Now you can say, oh, that happened under Titus. I don't believe that. I believe you saw that shadow back at that time, but the actual fullness of that part's going to come in when we're in the 3.5 year tribulation, right before. That's what's going to usher in the Antichrist and give him his power and allow him to rule. Okay, he's the emulator. Never forget that. All right, this one little thing I'm going to leave you with. We're almost done here. I'm going to read through this, and I'm going to show you something else, okay? And this is quite interesting. Obviously, if he's an Antichrist, whatever, he's going to use religion to rule the people. And if, indeed, that the woman, the mother of harlots of Mystery Babylon, is in fact Christianity, that means unequivocally that Christianity will be the religion of the 3.5 year Great Tribulation and of the Antichrist, and I'm going to show you why that is, if in fact Mystery Babylon is a representation of Christianity and the Roman Catholic lie, okay? So Revelation chapter 17, this is just something to think about, but it all has to do with future events. So Revelation chapter 17, verses 1 through 18, we're going to read, 1 through 6, then 1 through 7, and then verse 15 and 18. So 1 through 6, and then 7 and 15. I'm going to go over these rather quickly. We're not going to break them down. I'm just going to read them. And there came one of the 7 angels, which had 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried him away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Well, how many times I read about the 10 horns? Always indicative of particular powers or authorities. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of the abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was the name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots, the abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints, and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus, and when I saw her, wondered with great admiration. And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and the beast that carried her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. And you can go up and go back and read. A pastor talked about this a few weeks ago. Verse 15. So I'm going to skip down to 2 of the interpretations that were given to John, at least to him, to give an understanding of what he was seeing. I'll say in verse 15, And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes, nations, and tongues. So this whore, or where she sits, is going to encompass the whole globe. It's going to be the whole earth, right? Without exception, the entire whole earth. Verse 18, Revelation 17:18. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. So whatever the city is from this place where this rule and reign of this woman is going to take place from. It's going to be the core of where she operates out of. Because clearly the interpretation is that it's a city, but it's what happens in the city that sets this woman apart, okay? All right, go on to Revelation 15, verses 1 through 8. Revelation 15, 1 through 8. I'm going to read through it quickly again and just bring some points for you to consider. And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues. In them is filled up the wrath of God. So John's writing Revelation 15:1. He sees another sign. He sees 7 angels having 7 last plagues. And what is in these 7 last plagues? In them is filled up the wrath of Yah. It's explained clearly that what's in these vials is Yah's wrath. And then if you go read all of verse 6 or chapter 16, it tells you what happens with these vials and where this wrath is poured out. And verse 2, And I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten victory over the beast and over his image and over his mark. Well, when does this take place? This take place only during the Great Tribulation. Over the beast, over his image, and over his mark. And over the number of his name stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of Yah. And of course it makes sense because you have these vials that are containing the wrath of Yah. As it said in 1 Thessalonians 4, we're not appointed unto wrath, or the wrath of Yah. Now, we may suffer tribulation at the hands of the enemy. That's not going to be taken away, but we're not going to, because we are Yah's people, we're not going to suffer his wrath, which I believe are contained in the vials. At that time, in here it says that the sea of glass mingled with fire. If you read Revelation 4, you can find it clearly. It's Shemayim, right? So, verse 3. And they sing the song of Moses, the servant of Yah, and song of the Lamb, saying, Great and marvelous are thy works, Yahweh the Elohim, just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints. You go back to the song of Moses. It's a song that was a victory song when they were liberated from Egypt. Who shall not fear thee, O Yahweh, and glorify thy name? For thou art holy. For all nations shall come and worship before thee. Thy judgments are made manifest. And after that I looked, and behold, the temple of the the temple of the tabernacle of the testimony in heaven. So there's still a temple in heaven, Shemaim. And the 7 angels came out of the temple again, talking about, John's describing, he sees these angels, he sees the 7 vials containing the 7 plagues, which are the wrath of Yah. He describes these that have gotten the victory and now in the sea of glass, obviously in Shemaim. And they're clothed pure and white and having their breasts girded with golden girdles. I'm going someplace with this, obviously. And one of the 4 beasts gave unto the 7 angels 7 golden vials full of the wrath of Yah. Again, this is the wrath of Yah, who liveth forever and ever. And the temple was filled with smoke from the glory of Yah and from his power. And no man was able, still don't understand that. No man was able to enter into the temple. Well, there would be no man in heaven anyway, so, but, whatever. Till the 7 plagues of the 7 angels were fulfilled. So they're going to be fulfilled before anybody's allowed access back into the temple. So, going down to Revelation 16. Revelation 16, 17 through 21, and we're going to be talking about the 7th vial. And I'm going someplace with this, okay? And the 7th angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven, saying, from the throne, saying, it is done. So this is the completion. The last vial of the wrath of Yah was poured out. It is done. And there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, which you can read about in Zechariah chapter 14, 1 and 2. And there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. Was it Zechariah? No, I'm thinking, maybe I'm thinking of something else. But it's mentioned in there. In verse 19, and the great city was divided into 3 parts. Remember, it's talking about the city, and the nations fell, and great Babylon, which is described in chapter 17, 18, is a great city. It divided into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell, and great Babylon came in remembrance before Yah, to give her unto the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. And every island fled away, and every mountain were not found. And there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of talent. And the men blasphemed Yah because of the plague of hail, for the plague thereof was exceeding great. And I'm going to tie all this up here in a minute, but I had to go through all this to show you something. Okay, and we're going to end in Revelation chapter 18, verses 1 through 10. Revelation 18, 1 through 10. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and earth was lighted with his glory. Trying to speed up a little bit and get to a point. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great, that city, Babylon, the great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. So it's describing in verse 2 the condition and what happens to this great city, okay? Everything in verse 2 is why it's getting judged. For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sin, that receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God, Yah, hath remembered her iniquities, her lawlessness. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works, and the cup which she hath filled to her double. So she's going to get a double whammy, if I can use that word. And how much she hath glorified herself, and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. I'm going to bring up something here, too, that I don't hear it mentioned. Not that it hasn't been, but I haven't heard it mentioned. The fact that she considers herself, this city, right, this woman, considers herself a queen, not a widow. Well, she says she sits as a queen. That obviously says that sometimes she had to give the authority through marriage to become the queen of whatever the queen would be over, okay? And to say that she's no widow is telling everybody that she's actually not without a husband, that she was married at one time. So I asked a couple of brothers, so we were just having a little conversation. So who was she married to? Who did she have a covenant with? Right? this woman, which obviously in Revelation 17:18 says it's a great city. Who did she have a covenant with? All right, verse 8. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Most High who judgeth her. How did he judge her? He judged her in the seventh vial. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication, lived deliciously with her, shall bewail her and lament her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. And again, that was at the last vial, and what I'm saying is that whatever religion we go into at the beginning of this great tribulation is going to carry all the way through the 3.5 years, and the proof is right what I just read you, because the very last judgment, this system will be in place and alive until the very last vial. And then when that's poured out, that's when that religion or that system and that city is destroyed. That's pretty clear by reading the text, and I hope I made sense. I know it was a lot of information, but that is something that you really need to consider the times that we're in. So anyway, that's the conclusion of part 1. I know it was a lot of information. I really do. And again, like everything, prophecy is subject to change. So as the days progress, as we see more and more things start to unfold, it's going to give us a greater and better indication of the things, the symbolism that we've read, and we understand that we may not be able to put exactly our finger to, but time will show us what it is that we've read, and once we get an understanding of that picture, that symbology, that's going to give us a better course of action on how to conduct ourselves. And again, Yahweh's brilliant. He put it in there, and for those that, because it's twofold, those are those that don't have the faith to believe that these things are coming, that these things have already happened. So what's the sense of paying attention to a prophecy that's already been fulfilled? But for those of us that know that these things are written for our learning, for our admonition, that we can see and learn by history what happened the first time and what to expect, we can better prepare ourselves in the end, if I'm making sense. So anyway, I appreciate you all joining me tonight. Again, it was a lot. Oh boy, I had changed schedule, and I've got at least as many pages on, so I'm going to have to schedule 3 hours for part 2, which I've already worked on. If it be the will of the Most High, we'll be back on Blog Talk Radio presenting it. Anyway, again, if there was so much there, if you want to go back and re-listen, I mean, it's entirely up to you, but you may have missed something. Again, there's so much information, but like Pastor said, look behind everything, and be assured for yourself, because it all depends on, what you do to get yourself into the kingdom. So, with that, I bid you all a good night. Appreciate your patience and joining in tonight. I would that you all stay encouraged, and I would that especially that you all continue to lift up prayers and supplications, petitions to the Most High for our shepherd, Pastor Dowell, Pastor Corey, the leadership, the elders, and each other as well. Pray for one another that you may be healed. That's how we're contained. That's how we keep ourselves in the unity in the faith, all right? So, anyway, love you all. Bless you, Israel, and look forward to seeing you, yet be all willing, in 4 weeks. All right, blessings.
Look at him looking.